I do not like to be the bearer of hard tidings, but I know a lot of things that are very important. And every now and again, we go down in the pit. And quite often, like I've actually talked to my students and I've said to them that it's my own darkness that becomes the humus in which my inspiration grows. So I want to pass that information on to you because everybody will go, anybody alive who has actually got a life will go through a period where it seems like everything is incontrovertibly chaos and discord and unhappiness. And you've got one of those periods coming up for you. Where do I even start? Things are not separate on the table for me. At this stage in time, they're all kind of merging a bit. Um, Knowing you're not a frontline worker, this bothers me. Um, I've got I've got a racing heart. I feel like I've got a bit of tachycardia. I'm you, by the way. A bit of tachycardia. I'm what the fuck? How fast do I have to go? For goodness sake. So there's a real adrenaline thing happening around you. You've got fear here, darling. And it's not necessarily coming from the one source. It's just getting to the stage where you are probably hormonally chaotic. And with hormonal chaos, a lot of things that are suppressed prior to that will come to the surface. And I get a hit that you're coming into just a couple of lost years and that you're going to have to pace yourself. And when when that happens, but first of all, they started looking at, first of all, with the Five of Cups, we start out with you backward looking over everything emotional that hasn't worked for you. That's the first thing. Then there's see, we've got to go through an adjustment period where you're going to come to understand or know or recognize the fact that you've accepted some kind of bullshit around emotional relationships, etc., which is completely and absolutely delusional. Now, if I look at the bottom three, I'm going to go straight to them because they're reflected throughout. And this does not necessarily reflect the whole of your life. Please understand that. But it's areas that tarot is going to want you to really look at and work with. At the very bottom, tarot talks about when people get married or they get into relationships and how they stop being friends with their friends. They lose their friends. They let them go. They pay attention to their partners. Their partner, their home, their family becomes more important than their extended community. And in a way, when people marry in the sort of so-called traditional sense, they actually lose who they are. They lose their independent identities. And you're going to watch this happen one, two, three, at least three times to people that are close to you. And I don't know why you're getting the sob stories, darling, but you are. And I know there's a reflection back. And I know there's a reflection back to the maps we've just looked at and their whole violation. I mean, it's an interesting thing. It's a whole violation with children because it can also be the fact that children violate their parents. I think we need to sort of like reverse it a bit in the odd occasion. And let's say with children, particularly when children are adults and they put their parents in aged care, particularly also nowadays, parents who are not friends with their kids that play this whole superiority fucking game. Then there's people who think that, particularly single women who end up with the kids and the partner's gone off, leaving the mother to look after all the kids. It just seems to be that you're showing me the wrongness that happens in our society holistically in connection with so-called love and family values. And what I'm very aware of is the fact that we just don't have them in pale Anglo-European culture. Everything looks like restraint, 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 restraint. You fighting against bonds, you fighting against frustration, you getting this shit something shocking. You're outrageous all over these cards. Now, what's fascinating about this is that it isn't just pointing towards you. I get a hit, we've got a world event coming up that's going to really be, you and I are going to need to have a conversation in the future about how and I remember doing a similar thing, seeing this and weirdly enough in 2007, the year before the big global financial crash happened. And no one foresaw that. But this is more along the lines of a mercilessness on an international level. I mean, we're on an international level, we're quite close to all that now with what's happening to do with the IDF, to do with Russia, to do with the Orange Man, to do with even Australian government and parliament and shit like that. It's just all chaotic, antiquated systems and abuse against First Nation people. Weirdly enough, I mean, a lot of people who are still caught up in religion, marriage, all that traditional twee stuff that really has not served anybody. So this is not an easy reading to do, and it's not a difficult reading because I can't read it. It's difficult because it's almost heartbreaking. So you've got a lot of walking in the deep, deep parts of your consciousness to go through. Am I looking at a couple of years? Hopefully less for this. There's a couple of little bits that are quite nice in here, but we'll get around to that in a minute. No, I'll do them first, do them nicely. First of all, there will be of significance to your water sign man, Pisces, Cancer, or Scorpio, who finally leaves what's been holding him back. That's one thing. And there's a really fabulous feeling about that. It's the kind of a separation or a leaving that is well overdue. It's a liberation. The other one in the center is you getting paid for multitasking, and you'll do that victoriously. But other than that, I've got things like I can see over there with the Ace of Swords and the Ten of Pentacles and the Devil card. That's like a center for people using drugs, a sort of a safe house where somebody can injecting room. Yeah. There's going to be some form of lockdown happening in cities. Now, whether we've got another COVID coming, this could be the first time I've seen this one, the equivalent to another COVID. But it starts out with a cycle of death and destruction. Now, it's just really important to not take this personally, which is really annoying when you're paying for a personal reading, isn't it, darling? I am so sorry, but this is what it is. And the center there, you see that Knight of Swords with the Nine of Swords and the Fool card? That's your adrenals going off. I mean, this is going to be scaring you. Not because it's happening to you, but because the wave of trepidation is going to be quite crystal clear. So there is an inherent threat. I mean, if we're not living with the inherent threat now, I don't know who is. Because we've got these crazy people and this fracturing of the way society has been, even just in my lifetime, it's really being fractured right now. Ultimately, I think that's exactly what has to happen for a seed to grow into a new plant, or for us as an evolution. But mate, it's really disturbing. I don't usually like to recommend something, but I do want to recommend you standing back with people that you know and not getting caught up in the whole discussion, which is doomsday-ish. And it's like, what are you going to fucking rend your clothing and put ashes in your hair and join in? No. You've got to be able to keep your cool, keep yourself level. These are events. So this is not your inner self. This is not your brain or your consciousness we're talking about. We're not talking about any bad health on your part. We're looking at a major upswing in despair on a societal level, but we're also looking at a major upswing in the recognition of the delusion of such bullshit as marriage and religion. And that's going to mark your life. So how you are within that, that's where your own personal genius comes in, and you learn to put your feet where they need to go to be able to navigate what I can only call a period of your life which will be the equivalent of the bog of eternal stench. All right, put them together. Let's get on to the next map. Ooh.